Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to our session today. My name is Xenia, and I'm the wellness coach and nutritionist and your host for our IGTV live session today. So our topic is really, really interesting, super interesting, and it's such an important topic. I believe it's all about mindful eating, and our expert, subject matter expert, is a very good friend, also a professional colleague, and her name is Ananya, who has, you've probably heard her before speak on various topics on nutrition, wellness, as well. So, hey Ananya, welcome to our session, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Xenia. Hello, Enhapp community. I'm really glad and honored to be in such an important session and an interesting one. So let's get started. What are the
Absolutely.
myths
So,
for today?
y- yeah. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the topic, which is myths. We're busting myths around mindful eating, and I think mindful eating means being fully attentive, right? Being fully attentive to your
Absolutely.
food, about the things that you buy, you prepare, serve, or how you consume it. And there are certain practices that you need to adopt, right? When you're doing mindful eating, it's not just something that you pick up and you start immediately. I think it takes a lot of practice to focus on mindful eating, intuitive eating. Can you tell us what is mindful eating, and a little bit about, break it down, just to understand what it is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So mindfulness in the in a very shortest way is being present in this very moment. So understanding mindfulness basically encourages us to pay a lot of attention to while eating to our crunch, feel, texture, and the taste of food. And paying attention so minutely means it is an undistracted attention. So you're not getting distracted with any distractions around, no newspaper, no TV, no chit chatting, just sitting on your table with all your senses present in this very moment. And that's how you understand and develop and start getting a very in deep concept of how each food reacts with your body. What is your eating experience like, and how it takes you forward? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling better? Are you not feeling so good about a certain food? We our body can give a lot of signals in various ways, and basically mindfulness is all about picking those little signals and understanding us and staying present in this very moment.
So it's so important, right? I mean, to avoid distractions because we're constantly distracted. I mean, every one of us,
Absolutely.
from children to adults to, elderly population, everybody is distracted constantly. And especially, while eating food, we say that, hey, that's our family time, and we come together at that table, but we essentially either watch something on a screen, maybe the phones, or it could be a television. So when you
True.
say, like, focusing and avoiding these distractions, I'm sure it doesn't include, when you're as together as a family, it's just focusing on avoiding distractions through screens or newspapers, right? Or obviously because the social element is there, and being the family bonding is also supposed to be there. So how do you differentiate that for people?
Okay, so definitely a digital distraction would be a complete no-no when you're on the table with meal with your family. Of course, talking to each other should also be avoided, specifically if we have children at home, because while eating, if we talk, it tends to get clogged in our, it gets choked, and kids need to practice this ever since they are small, that we should avoid talking if not really necessary. So family bonding really comes, and we celebrate. I think every part of culture is food, so we celebrate. Whether it's festivities, whether it's a celebration, we all come together with food, and that's how we focus. If we practice mindfulness along with that get together time with family, it is more bonding and it's more aware. That is the reason it's known as mindfulness. So definitely talking to each other only if necessary on the table, But otherwise, avoiding all the digital distractions would be definitely an important key point to remember while practicing mindfulness.
That thanks for that important point, because it's the digital distraction that we are trying to focus on, and also anything which is like newspapers, books, all of that. Because then you know that distraction is not going to have a positive impact at all while you're eating as well. So why is it so important? I mean, why are we now all talking about being so mindful and eating mindfully and focusing on our food? Why are we like, because it's such a big thing now, and we're hearing more about it, reading more about it. Can you tell us a bit about like why is it so important?
Absolutely. So, recent past, I think we have all started developing a lot of indigestion problems, a lot of acidity cases, acid reflux, all of this were already there. I mean, I'm not saying that it suddenly appeared, it was
Yeah,
always there, but suddenly, even the youngsters, the young minds, the children are also getting into this indigestive mode. You know, the
right,
indigestion has
right,
increased suddenly. So when the researchers, a complete segment of research which is being done on gut healing and gut health. So during these research works, it has been found that the complete uh, the complete concept of mindfulness, when practiced with all awareness, it has actually helped you cut down almost 50 to 60% of your indigestion and digestive issues when you're consciously practicing it. So why not start from home? Why not start with the family, So even when you're socializing, it comes to you by default when you're already practicing at home. You don't really need to take time out. It's not time taking. Many people think, it's very time taking, but it's not so. It's just need those little fine tuning with your own self, with your own body. So it's
right.
very important because the cases of indigestion and acid reflux, acidity, sudden changes of your digestive juices have suddenly changed. And after a lot of research work, the studies have always shown the impact of digital interference during our meal timing. And also, of course, if we are fidgeting with a newspaper or have phones or TV, that definitely impacts our chewing, because we really don't, we eat mindlessly.
True,
We are not
true.
focusing on our portion control. So we really lose the focus of eating.
Absolutely. So coming down to like literally, like you said, mindful eating is all about understanding what you're eating, how much you're eating, what kind of taste, texture, and that also goes back to the whole satisfaction in the brain and knowing whether
Absolutely.
you're full or not.
Full
So
or
all
not.
your yeah, so your complete fullness quotient or hunger cues and understanding any of those
Satiety.
triggers. Exactly. I think that's a lot to do with all of those elements, and they're so important to making sure that overall well-being, right? Overall wellness is achieved, or we our body is at optimal health as well. So it's actually
Right.
very much like the crux or the base of eating habit
Well-being.
that we should, yeah, and well-being that we should be following. It's really, really important, and we actually have only been speaking about it now, right? Just in the last few years.
True.
Yeah. Super. That's thanks for that. So let's get on with the myths for today. Some really interesting myths that we found, and also some of the audiences have shared with us as well. So the first myth is being mindful means choosing the healthy option. What do you have to say about that?
Well, here, I would say that being mindful is just one component, but it doesn't automatically, by default, it doesn't mean it has to be healthy. It is more
True.
like understanding what my body needs right now. Very simple example here to give you is every month, we females, we women, have our cycles, right? And just before our cycles, we have our PMS. And during this pre-menstruation syndrome, we all have that little craving of sweet because of the hormonal changes that's occurring in the body.
Right.
Listening to that, we should not totally, undo with not having sweet. No, I just shouldn't. I couldn't, you know. Rather, we should hear and try and imbibe it in a very mindful manner. Okay, I'll stock my pantry with something which is more available which is more healthy. It can be some dry fruits, it can be some dark chocolates, but listening to yourself, your body is indicating something, and picking up those cues and following your body rules is something which automatically should happen to your body. So interestingly, being mindful is just one component. It does not mean it has to be healthy. If you are craving for an ice cream, I would suggest you have it. But again, the thumb rule is portion control. If you keep on eating, you have to put a pause. You have to really ask yourself, is so much needed? That is why you should
Correct.
put a pause, eat slowly, and then always remember the thumb rule, portion control. That is so much important.
That's a very important point there, right? I mean, don't just
Absolutely.
go into your cravings or go into those triggers. I mean, portion control also is still at the same time most important to not
Very
kind of
important.
aggravate any health issues that you may have, or also kind of have a link to any other potential health issues that you may have if you've not followed a good healthy eating pattern. So yeah, that's absolutely very
Right.
very important. So mindful eating can basically start from stocking your pantry also with the right foods,
Yes.
or choosing the right foods at the right time when you're craving, like you mentioned. Super.
Yes.
Awesome. So let's go to the next myth. The next one is being mindful requires a lot of time. I mean, this is something which is, to a lot of people, I believe that, hey, is this like a list of activities that I have to do to, be mindful or something? How do you manage questions like this? I mean, what is your comment here?
Yes, so being mindful is not time taking. This is so not correct. I mean, it is absolutely a myth. It is just about, it's a skill, it's a practice. So we have to keep on practicing, and you can start from home from one single meal. Once you start practicing it, it will take your conscious effort to practice the first day, the second day, the third day, like how we do our driving when we are learning to drive. We are consciously understanding, okay, the first gear, now I go to the second gear. That's how we practice. First day, second day, third day, seventh day, and 10th day. By 15th day, we are already on autopilot mode. So mindfulness, practicing mindfulness is absolutely the same way. So you just have to be a little more mindful, a little more conscious in the initial days. Once you get it with practice, it actually
Naturally.
helps you gain value for time. You're actually not wasting time thinking about food while you're sitting down on a meal. You actually get a lot of value of time when you start practicing mindfulness.
That's amazing. That's quite an important point there, because it's not something that you really need to sit down and list down or anything. It's just understanding your body, your requirements, and being present is the most important without
Present.
distractions, right? Super.
Absolutely.
Okay.
One more point I would like to add in here, Zenia. Being mindful also helps you make the right choices to help you nourish your body. That is also so important for us to understand that when we are eating food, we're just not eating to curb our hunger or just to satiate ourselves, but also to nourish our body, nourish every cell of our body. So if you pick up that conscious effort, I'm sure it becomes very smooth over time.
Naturally, it comes that. Yeah.
Naturally, it
Correct.
comes out. Absolutely.
Super. Okay. So, I mean, this is a very good myth that I'm going to ask you next, which I think even I have
Okay.
I would also ask that to any professional coach. It's not possible to be mindful when socializing, which is, yeah. I
Ah,
mean,
yes.
uh,
Very common question. Absolutely, absolutely. So while socializing, even many clients, come and tell me, how do we, keep up with our mindfulness when socializing, when going out
right,
to a
right,
party?
because you're like distracted constantly, and happy distraction, right? And these are like so many triggers
Yes.
there out there for you.
And your host is already there helping you to help more servings. So how do you help
True.
yourself?
Yeah, yeah,
So basically, see, as I started saying, that food is how we celebrate, how we come together as friends, as family. But also, very important point to remember is that being mindful, as I said, it's a practice. When you start practicing consciously, you really don't have to put an extra effort while you're socializing per se. So when you're socializing, you just have to do a few steps. I can just give you like four breakdown of steps. Very simple. One, always serve yourself in a smaller plate. Smaller plate. Serve yourself or help
Right.
yourself in a smaller plate. One. Second, put down your fork after each bite. So when you put down your
Okay.
fork after each bite, automatically the third point comes in. You chew slowly. You have to chew slowly so that your satiety, our mind, the signal from our gut to brain comes only after 20 minutes of being full. So when you eat slowly and chew slowly, putting down your fork in between, automatically your body would start getting the indication now you're about to be full. So using smaller plates, put down your forks, chew slowly, and last but not the least, please put away your distractions even when you're socializing. Just sit down on a table and help yourself out. I think that is the best way to keep you on track even when you're socializing.
So, like,
Hope
is
I'm
there
able to answer.
any? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There are some valid points, like very important points there that all of us and including the audience can pick up from there. So, I mean, I had a question there as well. That what about, like, is it important that you must eat while you only eat while you're seated? You can't, shouldn't, or it's not recommended while you're standing. Is it a form of distraction, or what would you, or also drinking water or drinking any liquids during
Beverage.
eating, the beverages and all that, does that have like an impact on your overall what you're trying to achieve, right? Like being focused on portion control at the same time, also having the right food choices and all of that while you're in a social environment.
That's a very, very good question, Xenia, because very few people really ask and deep dive there. First, absolutely pointed very rightly. You should always try and sit down and eat because you digest and sit up straight, straight up on a spinal
Right.
cord. Definitely standing is like putting a lot of effort on your feet. When you're eating, when you're chewing, your entire body is actually uh, into a lot of process from secretion of enzymes to digestive enzymes, and lots of activities are already going on. You don't want to stress
Right.
your body while you're standing and eating. So always it is mandate to sit down in a comfortable chair or a sofa or a seat and then eat. On a table, it would be preferable. If not, it's okay. Never
Right.
have liquids, rightly pointed out. Having some beverage or liquids with your food would actually dissolve or dilute your digestive juices, so you will not really feel satiated. At the same time, having some fluid or beverage along with your food would also fill you up, rather than
Faster,
food, the
right?
liquid would fill you faster. So it's always a good idea to drink water or a beverage half an hour prior to your meals and 1 hour post your meals. With your meals, having a liquid, any beverage is better not to consume along with your food.
Got it.
Hope that's
Thanks for
answered.
that. Absolutely, there's some really important information right there, and good
Absolutely.
points for everybody to pick up on their weekend socializing events. Whoever is having that, yeah. Super. So let's go on to the fourth myth. When
Mhm.
we are mindful, we stop overeating and emotional eating. So I think you cover part of that in terms of our triggers and everything. But of course, if you would like to answer that in fully or add some more points to it.
Yes, but here the answer would be no, not exactly. The beauty of mindful eating is accepting imperfections. So today, if my body is urging to have a sweet, but I have portion controlled and have a small piece, a bite of maybe a cake or a little bit, one scoop of ice cream, I know that I am not perfect, but accepting my imperfections and going forward with it, acceptance is the biggest rule. Any we always turn to comfort foods whenever we are feeling low, we are feeling down, our body is upset or tired. We always try and go ahead with some comfort food that we already have an attached emotions with. So a good idea is to control overeating or emotional eating. The portion control definitely is a thumb rule, as I always say. Another thumb rule would be, you must know where to stop. As I said, chew slowly. I just covered the point in the last question as well. when you chew slowly, and you basically, the first step of digestion is chewing, right? And when our each food particle gets mixed with our saliva, that is the first step to digestion. When all your particles are broken down into small pieces and mixed with saliva, that's when your first step of digestion is completed. If you're doing the first step correctly, you would automatically know where to stop, where to put your forks down. But if you are eating in a little due to some rush, you
Rush
just
or
eat
fast.
hurry
Right.
yeah, you're just hurrying up and eating. You're eating with some stress at the back of your mind. You have to submit a
Right.
project or you have to rush somewhere. You will always realize that you've overeaten because you were not really paying attention to how much you're eating. So your portion
Correct.
control has
That's
gone for
true.
a toss, and at the same time you have lost the track of food.
I think
So
it's very, very
mindfulness.
important point. Yeah, very, very important point you made there because it's something like a lot of people will resonate when I say this. During the office hours, if you're at your office desk, I think it's very important that you move away from that desk, have your food, in another designated place so that you're not distracted by those meetings or the upcoming meetings or the emails that keep pinging in because
True.
that's obviously a distraction, right? And it's very important that we
Absolutely.
kind of move away from that. And I think it so naturally comes that, okay, if I'm not on my laptop, I'm still going to be on my phone looking at some emails or replying to some things or taking calls as well. So I think we definitely need to put a stop there and have focus time of
Absolutely.
ensuring that you eat during the eating time. There is no other distractions. And, you're also, because if you're stressed with certain meetings, like you rightly said, you're going to eat more or eat less or not really feel that whole satisfaction or whatever you've eaten.
That's true. That's correct, Senior.
Right, super. So we have another myth that I think is the last myth that we have here on the list. It says
Hmm.
mindful eating is for weight loss. Now that's a big one, right? I mean, everybody wants to know, is it going to do something more than just making me aware? Am I going to lose weight? Yeah.
Okay, there is a small part of research which actually shows that mindful eating leads to weight loss, but not always, you
Okay.
know. If a person is already very conscious about the choices he makes, the portion control, then he won't really see a weight loss. But if a person has been eating mindlessly, if a person has been eating in a lot of rush, he has not really paid a lot of attention while he's sitting down and eating. And that for such people, yes, mindfulness will might lead you to some weight loss. It might not, you know. It is not sure that definitely mindful eating will lead to weight loss. But what's more important is this prioritizing that when I'm sitting down to eat, I really have to leave my clients, my calls, my meetings. Really, I have to take a pause from there and sit down and pay that little attention of taste, using all your five senses and eating. So that's the reason I said your texture, taste, crunch, feel of the food should be the priority when you're having a meal. That automatically would lead to weight loss or might just keep you really, if you're already well maintained, it would just keep you well maintained. That's it. I mean, you should be happy and healing from within to out, not from out to in. So let's start imbibing that practice on a daily basis, and I think that itself will start
Absolutely.
helping us.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's great information, Ananya. Thanks for sharing all those insights
Thank
on
you.
mindful eating. The floor is open for questions from the audience, and I believe we have a couple of questions over here already. The first one is that do we actually need to chew 32 times for proper digestion?
Okay, the best way to answer is the denser the food, the more times you have to chew. So if it's a protein which has very dense and compact fibers into it, we really need to chew at least 32 times.
Okay.
Each bite should be masticated. But anything as simple as say cooked vegetables, the fibers have already become smoother and really
Right.
loosened up. For them, even 20-25 times is pretty good. But anything which is more denser, which is more compact, which has a lot of, say, a raw veggie or a raw fruit would take 30-32 times of chewing definitely to really break down each and every fiber to help us digest it better.
That's I think it's a really important point there, right? Because it goes back to a lot of scientific data over there. It is not just the Western culture, also our Ayurvedic culture and all that also have been talking about the importance of chewing. And the more you chew, the better your food digests. And it is like you rightly said. I mean, 32 times is the minimum, depending on what type of food you have. So it's really, really important, and that's what we tell even at for kids, right? Said, okay, chew your food better, chew your
Absolutely.
food better, right? So rather than gulping down. And I think we forget that as much as we start growing and
We
become
growing up.
older. Yeah,
Correct.
you get into adulthood and then you keep forgetting all the basics that you've been taught, right? Chew your food and you're
True.
like just gulping down. I don't have the time to do all of that right now. So, right.
Right.
Super. So we have another question from the audience. It says, "How to manage mindful eating while being unwell?" That's from Asha.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Asha. When you're unwell, your body has that automatic tendency of utilizing your stored fats already. So the minimum that you're eating, the minimum effort that you can put is sit up straight. Many times we're lying down, we're so weak or so unwell. Try to sit up straight so that whatever minimum you're eating, try to chew as much as possible. I wouldn't insist that you chew them 32 times, but even if it's a semi liquid or liquid, whatever you are having during your illness, try to sit up and eat as much as focused attention you can give. Just give that and do your bare minimum during your illness. But there's no hard and fast rule that you have to follow. But it becomes a practice. Even if you're unwell, as I said, it is all about your practice. The more you practice, the better you get. So once you get better and better, you really need not worry about socializing or illnesses. It automatically comes to you
Comes to you naturally. That's true.
naturally.
So we have the last question from the audience. Is mindful eating only for mindful while you're eating, or also while you're cooking food? Which is quite an interesting
Oh,
question.
that's a very interesting question. So mindfulness is an activity, or it's a awareness which should be practiced 24/7 with every
Right.
activity that we are doing, from grocery shopping to cooking to chopping foods to even working on your table. So it should be practiced with each and every work you're doing. And the more mindful, as I said, it is a small step which you have to practice every day, over and over and over. So when you start cooking with all your focus, the family, when they're enjoying, if you're enjoying cooking the food, your family will equally enjoy eating the food.
Right.
If you're
Right.
really making it with all rush and irritation, or your maid is just cooking with just that business business orientation, the food might not come out as well, people might not enjoy. So it is like transferring your energy into the food. The person who's cooking
Yeah.
transfers his or
That's
her
true.
energy also into the food, which goes down to the family. So the more happier vibe you have while cooking, happier your family gets.
Super, super. That's some really good information. Thank you so much, Ananya. I don't see any other questions. If there's any other questions, Ananya will be more than happy to answer them. But I think we've covered a lot of important points there, a lot of takeaways, a lot of tips and tricks that you've shared with the audience that each of us can incorporate into our daily lives in our routine, one step at a time. I think at least
Absolutely.
focusing on one meal while you're at office, if not at home, and then once that becomes a practice, I believe we could always move into the home setting or vice versa, whichever is more convenient for you. So I think that's a lot of good information there, Anya. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you so
if
much,
there are
Senior.
no more questions, if you want to have a few more points, anything that you'd like to share with our audience before we close the session?
Just that, let's start practicing from today itself, from the dinner time or from the next meal, whichever is the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
meal of ours.
yeah,
Let's start taking
absolutely.
that first step today itself so that we can reach somewhere in the next 1 week or 7 days.
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. Right. So I also wanted to share that we have an upcoming webinar, and it is going to be hosted by Ananya. It's going to be in the weekend, I believe on Friday, and it's going to be towards the second half of the day. I mean, I would urge all of you who is attending this session would definitely join our free webinar. And Ananya, would you like to say a few words or a line or two about what the webinar is going to be about?
Surely. So the webinar is how choose to lose mindfully. Again, this was a continuation to the same topic. So how
Right.
should we choose to eat mindfully, which helps us lose mindfully? It's not about just losing the weight, losing that weight of stress, tension, unwanted fats, it's everything. But we really need to be mindful. Again, I'll talk a little bit about mindfulness there as well, along with food, even how we can imbibe that in our lifestyle, and that will lead to a weight loss. And we'll talk the rest of it. I'll leave it as a surprise,
Yeah,
whoever
I think
joins
we
in.
should. Yeah,
We
exactly. I
should
was just
keep a
gonna
little
say, keep
surprise
all
for the
the points
audience.
for. Absolutely, keep all the pointers, all the tips and tricks. The keys to
Yes.
actually, boosting your weight loss or helping reach your goal, which is your weight management goal. And I think you're going to talk all about that on the upcoming webinar, which is on Friday at about 3 p.m. Gulf time, and it's a free webinar, so make sure you all join in. And if you need to get some more information about it, feel free to reach us at any time. Thank you, everybody, for joining our session, and look forward to seeing each one of you on our Workout Wednesdays and also for the next myth busting session, which is next week, Monday. Thanks, Ananya. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
so
evening.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.